Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. My name is Ryan Winkler. I am the Majority Leader of the Minnesota House. Today in the Minnesota House, we are introducing legislation to legalize, regulate, and expunge criminal records related to cannabis. We are seeing in states across the country and even our neighbor in South Dakota that the issue of legalizing cannabis, creating a fair, regulated marketplace, addressing the deep inequities in our criminal justice system is a mainstream, bipartisan, broadly supported issue. Just recently in South Dakota, voters approved through the initiative and referendum process legalizing cannabis. Cannabis got almost as many votes in South Dakota as Donald Trump did. This is a bipartisan issue that requires serious work in the Minnesota House and Minnesota Senate. Over the last year and a half, we have been engaging deeply in Minnesota's conversation about cannabis. We have been to 15 communities around the state talking about the goals, concerns, and aspirations related to cannabis. We've talked to over 1,000 Minnesotans in person. We've engaged with hundreds of organizations related to law enforcement, criminal justice reform, cannabis advocacy, and especially those who've for a long time been advocating for cannabis legalization. We've had hundreds of hours of legislators' time working on policy and bill development. We have worked deeply with Governor Walz and his administration to address public safety, public policy, health, and many other issues. This bill is ready to go in the Minnesota House. It should be moving forward in the Minnesota Senate. Our priorities are to end the black market for cannabis and move to a safe, regulated marketplace where consumers know what they're getting, to allow Minnesotans the freedom to make their own decisions on a product that has some challenges but is relatively safe, especially compared to other products. We want to make sure that veterans get access to cannabis to address long-term concerns about their health. We want to make sure, most importantly, that our criminal justice system ends the prohibition on cannabis, which has had the deliberate effect of criminalizing thousands and thousands of Minnesotans based on their race. We cannot continue that any further, and this bill is designed to stop that. With me today are two House authors and the Senate author. Representative Rena Moran will go next and talk about this issue from her perspective.
I'm going to take this off. I'm a little soft-spoken, so I will put it back on after I get through. So good afternoon. My name is Rena Moran, State Representative from District 65A in St. Paul, and also the Chair of the Ways and Means Committee. Just want to thank you for being here today. Increasingly, Minnesotans have been making their voices heard on this issue. The legalization of adult use cannabis will result in health, economic, criminal justice, and civil rights benefits for Minnesotans. Benefits already experienced by those in other states have been eliminated through the criminal prohibition. People from all demographic backgrounds and in all areas of the state are demanding a change to our outdated policies about cannabis. But nowhere is the harm of the failed criminal prohibition felt more than with Black, Indigenous, and people of color, which continue to experience outrageous disparities regarding enforcement of our current marijuana laws. Black Minnesotans are over 5 times more likely to be arrested for marijuana than those who are white. This is one of the worst disparities in the nation, and true even though both groups use it in similar rates. As we work together this session to break down systemic racism and deliver true racial justice, we cannot ignore such a widespread inequity. Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle have a responsibility to not just recognize the injustice, but intentionally work to eliminate it. Adult use legalization would help those who have been disproportionately impacted have an opportunity to live better lives and contribute to society by participating in the workforce. We want people to be self-sufficient, capable, and able to take care of themselves and their family. This will help create a pathway to that. We have listened to people, including those with concerns. When we had time to study the impact, we've had the time to study the impacts. Now it's time for us to advance a responsible solution. We do have a responsible solution. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jess Hanson. I represent District 56A. I'm new to the legislature, but I'm not new to advocating for cannabis legalization. I've been advocating alongside tireless advocates since 2017, and I'm honored to be working on this initiative in my new capacity. Over the years, I worked alongside these tireless advocates, concerned community members, and those who have been most directly impacted by the current system of prohibition. As we traveled the state to talk with Minnesotans about full legalization, rural, suburban, and urban communities emphasized the importance of establishing a well-regulated legal industry. An ever-increasing number of Minnesotans believe that full legalization is the solution because prohibition is the problem. We heard stories from Minnesotans from all sides of the aisle who feel that cannabis is a healing plant that they want safe, legal access to without the risk and fear of criminalization. We heard them tell us loud and clear that the current system is causing more harm than good. This is one of the most multi-partisan issues of our time, with supporters from diverse backgrounds along a wide range of political spectrum, political affiliation, and ideology. Together, we can establish a safe, regulatory framework that will allow us to address the harms of prohibition and begin a reparative journey toward the better outcomes that our communities deserve. We'll work to create a regulated industry that respects the personal freedom of cannabis consumers, that increases public safety, that improves public health, that creates wide-scale economic development and job creation statewide, and one that follows our efforts to strive for racial and social justice in Minnesota. As states around the nation establish their markets, the time is now to move forward with full legalization of an adult-use cannabis industry. We have the opportunity to build the best model in the nation, and I am honored to have the opportunity to amplify the voices of our communities alongside leaders like those who are with me today and the rest of the amazing team of legislators who have worked so hard to bring this to fruition. Thank you.
Thank you all for being here. My name is Melisa Franzen. I'm a state senator for District 49, and I have been the lead author in the Senate 2 years ago for cannabis legalization. And in our bill, we outlined the legalization of recreational cannabis for the state of Minnesota. And today, I remain committed to supporting a path forward for a responsible framework to legalize adult use cannabis in our state. For too long, we have turned a blind eye to the effects that prohibition had on many of our communities of color. As more states continue to remove barriers to embark in this industry, Minnesota must not be left behind. We should lead the way towards ensuring public health and safety considerations are at the forefront of any legislation. We know that as more states around us legalize recreational cannabis, we are not going to be able to stop it at our borders. Our law enforcement officers are then challenged to enforce this law instead of dedicating resources to more serious crimes. This has also resulted in racial disparities in our criminal justice system for minor cannabis offenses, which has rippled effects across our communities. The best thing we can do for both our public health and safety interests is to regulate and educate Minnesotans to the effects of the use of cannabis and create the necessary oversight and legal framework for it. By passing this legislation, it will also allow us to protect our kids under 21 from cannabis and provide resources to regulators, local law enforcement, and public health officials. It will make our communities safer by removing the need for a black market while eliminating the harm it has done to society. As an attorney and a mother of 2 young boys, I am keenly aware of the need to make sure this is done right. That is why I support responsibly regulating all aspects of cannabis use by considering some aspects such as prohibiting the use of sale to minors under 21, keep current law prohibiting impaired driving, upholding our Clean Indoor Air Act, protecting employer rights to keep the workplace safe, protecting landlord rights to prevent smoking on their property, establishing rules on the operation of dispensaries and zoning, developing a tracking system or seed to sale, distributing revenue to mental health services, training officers, and police health education for teens about the potential health consequences of cannabis use, and allowing for expungement of cannabis crimes from records previously convicted persons. And finally, which is a very important piece of it, is dedicating funding to communities disproportionately affected by prohibition. We have been having this same conversation for years, and every year this doesn't pass is another year that Minnesotan veterans, for instance, may not get access to relief from their chronic pain because they cannot legally receive cannabis from the VA. It is another year where our law enforcement and legal system are also stretched thin by prosecuting low-level crimes of cannabis, and another year where disparities grow in our criminal justice system. It is also another year missed where we could be taxing and regulating a product that we know is already here in the state, where we would be reaping some benefits to increase funding for its regulation, but for other things like educating Minnesotans about the responsible use of cannabis, not the overuse. The time has passed to pass this legislation now, and we know we have Democrats supporting this in the House and the Senate, and the way in that the majority of Minnesotans voters support it, and that Governor Walz indicated that he would sign a bill should it land on his desk. We're urging Republicans to recognize the significant benefits that this legislation would have on Minnesota and join us with their support. Thank you.
Okay, we can take questions.
This isn't the first time, obviously, that a proposal like this has been brought forward. Still a divided government. What has changed in your mind in terms of the calculus here when Republicans in the Senate have signaled that it's likely to face the same fate as it has previously?
Well, first of all, this bill is not something that is just concocted in a few days' time or a few weeks' time. This is really the product of everyone who has an interest or concern about cannabis legalization, having their voice included, their concerns noted, and their aspirations. So this bill, for example, prioritizes small and mid-sized Minnesota businesses. It prioritizes communities that have been adversely affected by the war on drugs the most. It is thorough and very far-reaching in its criminal justice reform elements. It creates a very sensible regulatory roadmap, and it doesn't overtax a product so that we can make sure that this goes from an illegal marketplace to a safe and legal marketplace. So there is a tremendous amount of thought and consideration put into this bill. The thing that has also changed is that South Dakota just voted for legalization. 15 states have full legalization and 21 more are considering it. If you look at a map of the United States, Minnesota will soon be an outlier for not being legalized. And as our neighbors to the west, South Dakota and even now North Dakota is looking at passing this through their Republican legislature because they know it's coming and they want to get it right. The tide is shifting and it's coming in very strong. And if we are not in front of this, if we are not doing a thoughtful job putting this bill together, creating this policy, we are going to end up with more problems with cannabis than we have right now. And so I hope that Republican leaders in the Senate will understand that this is coming and they should be on board to shape how this legislation progresses rather than try to stop something. And frankly, I hope that this is not about election politics, about trying to use third-party cannabis parties in order to disrupt or have a spoiler effect in the next election. And I hope it's not about any other elections coming up. This should be about the people of Minnesota and the bipartisan, nonpartisan effort to get this done.
But, to be clear on the South Dakota issue, do you feel that the fact that it is a Republican-controlled state does move the needle for Republicans, or is it the fact that you have a neighboring state with this legally? Like, what's more important to get them on board? I guess is a better way of saying that.
At the same time. 2.5. So first of all, it shows that this is an issue that is strongly supported by Republican voters. Whether party leaders support it or not is less clear, but Republican voters certainly support it. Number two, as South Dakota legalizes, the ability for Minnesotans to drive across the border and get cannabis is going to increase significantly. If people are willing to drive to Wisconsin in order to buy fireworks, they're sure as heck going to drive to South Dakota to get cannabis. Right now, the North Dakota legislature, which, because North Dakota has initiative and referendum and knows that, and this could go on the ballot in North Dakota, their legislature is looking at passing a bill of their own. So we may be in a situation in which both North and South Dakota and our neighbors to the north in Canada all have cannabis for sale, and Minnesotans can easily drive there and get it. That is not going to make a safe, legal, regulated marketplace. That is just going to enhance a criminal attitude regarding cannabis, which is not good for anybody.
Would those with cannabis convictions have their records expunged immediately, or would that be something they'd have to go through an application process?
We have two levels of expungement. If you have a misdemeanor or petty misdemeanor cannabis-only offense, it is automatically expunged. For anything above that, we create an expungement review board whose job it is to review those records as quickly as possible, because at higher levels of convictions, you may end up with other kinds of crimes related to guns or other kind of activity that complicates those issues. But for the lower level offenses, they are automatically wiped clean. Okay, thank you very much.
Well done.
Good job.